¿Qué es lo que hay, mi gente? Welcome to Let's Hablar podcast, brought to you by Hablemos Productions. Vamos a hablar. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Let's Hablar podcast. Today we're going to discuss a couple things pop culture, but we're also going to discuss a little something extra on the side. Of course, I am Maya Ladies Siete, and we have the fabulous and glittery Kai. So, I wanted to discuss a couple of things. Clara couldn't join us today, so we are putting some stuff on hold. But I just wanted to let you know that apparently Miley Cyrus slapped Flavor Flav because he confused her for someone else. I don't think that's worthy of a slap. That's more like, hey, bro, like, that ain't me type conversation. But, like, I mean, can it get to that level where you slap somebody because they confused you for someone else?
I definitely think that there's more to that story. Like it wasn't just, oh, I thought you were somebody else. Like there's more to that. You know what I mean?
I just thought that was weird. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, why would she be that pissed off to where she slapped? There has to be something else was said. Like, you had to have said it in a way that was disrespectful. It can't be just that, oh, you're Hannah Montana, and then just leave it at that. Like, no, I'm Miley Cyrus, but it had to be something else. And I mean, come on, I know he's old. I know he's like older than our parents. So we typically give those people a pass when they don't remember your name or they don't know who you
Mhm.
are. So I don't see her doing it to be like disrespectful. I feel like she would have said something out of pocket where she felt disrespected.
Or felt on
Maybe.
her. Like I know when you're like, you think it's your partner or somebody you like mess with or whatever. You maybe like grab them, hug on them or something. So I feel like maybe that happened.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
do you want to know who she was confused with?
Of course.
Gwen Stefani.
Okay. Um,
Yeah.
hmm.
Yeah. But I don't
Okay.
see it.
Uh-uh.
No.
Mm-mm.
Like, literally, it said, Gwen Stefani, I know it's you. That's what he yelled. And apparently, she was irritated. Miley Cyrus smacked Flavor Flav in his face and said, I won't let this happen again. And then they both laughed it off.
So it was like a playful slap.
Yeah,
Like were
like
they there together? I'm so confused. So like were they there together as like friends, kicking it? Like what? Okay.
I don't know. It says that it happened at a iHeartRadio festival where the Hannah Montana album was playing, coincidentally, and he confused her for Gwen Stefani and that she slapped him in the face. Now, first of all, if you slap me in my face, I'm going to have several words with you because that's my face. This is my identity. This is how people will see me. And once you disrespect that, I'm going to be really, really, really pissed off. I'm not going to just laugh it off. I'll probably hit you back. That's just me as a reflex.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that she hit him hard. I think she probably
Yeah.
just went like this, like, get it together. But
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting. Why would you say this on another interview with a different celebrity about an event to something that's so minimal? Now people are gonna be like, she's beating on black people.
Abusive.
She's
Right.
abusive to elderly
Exactly.
people. Like, no,
Uh-huh.
this is a girl who literally advocates for everybody. She hangs out with everybody. Like, she really doesn't have a set group. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
the Taylor Swift people, we know who they are. They're all kind of the same type of people that hang out in her clique.
got it.
So
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny.
Yeah,
What
like
would you
don't
do?
don't hype things don't hype things up. Like if y'all were playing around or that's like you guys have that relationship and it was like a like I might pop somebody in the mouth. Like don't call what? Don't
Right.
call me somebody else's name. Don't call me another girl's name. But like, don't make it seem like it's something it's not. Like if it was just a playful thing or whatever, especially in the public eye, because people take that to heart. Like I feel like Chris Brown still gets his issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it could really ruin somebody's career just by
Yeah.
people twisting things, you know?
hmm And I also feel like I don't care how cool you are with somebody because you and I have known each other for years, but I'm never gonna slap you in your face like just because you said something out of pocket. Like, no, I'll probably smack your
Right.
arm, but I'm never gonna
Right.
smack you in your face. That's just not what I'm gonna do. And I
Yeah.
would never want you to smack me in my face just because I said something out of pocket. Like, no, this
Right.
is how we identify to people. And I feel like that's disrespectful. Just like spitting on somebody, I feel is disrespectful. Like, that girl
For
Brittany,
sure.
not Brittany, Brianna from Teen Mom, um, and Ashley from Teen Mom. They were in a fight,
Hmm.
and the girl got on the counter. Brianna, the Puerto Rican girl, got on the counter and was threatening to beat her. So everyone's holding her back, and her form of, like, I guess getting to her because she couldn't because everyone was blocking was by spitting,
Yeah.
and it landed on her.
That's I think that's one of the most disrespectful things you can do. Sometimes you got to
Yeah.
do it. I'm just kidding. I did not condone violence.
But hey, it happened also on Flavor of Love. I think that blonde girl spit on New York, remember? I forgot what her name was.
No
But she
idea.
spit on New York. So it happens. We see it happen,
Yeah.
but I think that that's one of the things that where you like there's no coming back from that. You can't make amends
Mm-mm.
from those types of things, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
that's just interesting. I wonder if they're still going to be cool because they laughed it off. I probably wouldn't want to be
Yeah.
cool with that person again.
They're not tripping.
Mm-mm.
They're not tripping.
Second story. I took out all of the Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift stuff post football because I watched the Super Bowl. She knows I'm into football, but I really did not care at the end of the day which team won. I know I did
I
not
for
want
sure did.
Kansas City to win because I can't stand Kansas City, and you know this. We've been over this. But I didn't want to get into all of those conspiracy theories because I honestly think that they're so stupid. First of all, Taylor Swift is just a musician. She'll be done with Travis Kelce by the end of the summer and make a whole new album, and all you guys will be happy about her new album. So for me, it's whatever. the
My dad was
next
saying
story.
that she's like because there was like all these rumors that he was going to propose after if he won the Super Bowl or
Oh,
whatever, and my dad was like, he's not going to do that because then what's Taylor going to sing about? I'm like, dang, she can't sing about being happy. It's just heartbreak. I'm like,
well, your dad's got a point.
I'm like, first of all, Dad, why do you know what Taylor Swift songs are about? Run that,
No,
break that down.
that just means that your dad is with it. He knows what's going on in this.
He does. He's so funny. He knows the like most random facts. I'm like, what?
I'm gonna be
So weird.
like when at your family gatherings, and he's just gonna come out with something and be like, how'd you know that? Wait a minute. I wanna see your phone. What kind of news alerts do you
Yeah,
have on your phone?
for real. Like I remember when I was like in my early 20s, he's like, "How long have you had your mascara?" And I'm like, "What? I don't know. It still works." He's like, "You're supposed to change it every 3 months." And I'm like, "Do you know how much mascara is? You go pay for that."
Yeah. You make it last as much as you can. When it dries up, that's when you know, like, man, there's
Yeah.
no saving this.
Okay. Okay.
Even
You're
if you
done.
put some eye drops in there, it's still not gonna be the same.
Eye
Um,
drops?
yeah.
Oh my God. I'm not putting
If
eye.
you put like a
That's
little bit of eye drops in there, you can make it last a little bit, but don't use the one that's for contacts. Use just like the regular eye drops. It'll make it last a little bit longer. You
I'll
just
just
get
throw it away and buy a new
more running stuff. Also, quick fact: Beyonce
one.
becomes the first Black woman to top Billboard's Hot Country Songs chart. Um, I don't think that I felt like this was a weird move for her because she is from
Mm-mm.
Texas. So I
Yeah,
really
I don't
didn't
think so.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she hasn't done it sooner.
Yeah.
But
I
I
thought
think
she probably would
country
have done
right
it like
now,
10 years ago, maybe.
I think country right now, in my opinion, like I feel like it's becoming like more popular again. But I
Mm.
feel like it's because artists that are in like the R&B genre and stuff are branching out. And
Hmm.
so it's a little bit of mixture. It's not just straight country, you know?
Yeah. It's like
So,
mixed with poppy, R&B,
hmm
and country kind of like
vibes.
put together. It's not the what's that one guy's name? Garth Brooks, or is it
Yes.
he a country star?
hmm
Um, and then
The
like what's the other
OG
guy? Tim McGraw, like stuff like that. It's not really
country,
them.
country,
Yeah,
country,
it's more
country.
like a Kane Brown. What's the
Yeah.
other guys? I don't know. You guys, I don't know a whole lot. I just know like a couple because I've heard some songs. I'm not a huge country fan, so for me that's not like really the genre that I follow. But like you said, I don't think it's a I think she would have done it sooner. That would have been, I think, something I would have expected, but
hmm
she didn't. She waited until now. And maybe it's
hmm
because it's more personal to her, maybe.
Maybe. I don't
And
know. It's a good song. I like it.
also,
It's cute.
like it too. So, I like the so on TikTok they have abuelitas trying to dance to it.
Uh-huh.
And one of them lost her chancla like while she was dancing to it. And I couldn't stop laughing. I felt like, and mind you guys, the reason why we're not in studio together today is because I hurt my back, and it hurts to drive. So I was trying to not laugh when she lost her chancla, because typical Latina fashion, she started to cuss in Spanish. So it made it
hmm
funnier. And every time I laughed, I felt my back just like get tense and start to like pinch. So I was like, oh hell no! Like this is I can't be on here and watch these videos while I'm trying to get examples for
Right.
Sunday.
That's hella funny. That's
But
super
I just thought
funny.
that was interesting. And then on topic of Beyonce, so did you hear about the Kelly Rowland debacle?
No.
So Kelly Rowland, apparently she was gonna guest host and she wanted a bigger dressing room because the dressing room or green room, whatever they call it, was not accommodating to her needs. So she asked to be moved to a bigger one that would accommodate her needs. But they said JLo was using the larger room. So she left. She she left and she quit. Then she goes to an interview to promote her movie, Mia Culpa, on Netflix. I wouldn't watch it. Honestly, I watched the whole movie. I found it irritating. Um, but I have reasons why, and I'll explain that later. But she's doing the interview, and they're asking her about Beyonce, and like she's there to promote her movie. She's not there to promote
Right.
her friend. Like, why are you? That's
Yeah.
disrespectful to that artist. Give her
Yeah,
her
definitely.
flowers.
hmm
Don't do that. She's
Right. If
and
you
yet
want to
she
talk
was on
about
Destiny's
Beyonce,
Child
book a
too.
segment. Like,
Yeah, like yes, Beyonce is the one that made like you don't really see Michelle Williams that much, who was the other member of Destiny's Child. You don't really see Kelly Rowland doing things the way that Beyonce does them, but they're different people.
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just don't see it.
Yeah, I think it's like going on a date with somebody and like you actually just only want to know about their friend. Like, it's not what we're here for, sir. Like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's cool to like, friends are gonna pump their friends up, but especially when you're messing with people's money, like, nah, it's not what I'm here for.
I mean, it's like I'm here to promote. First of all, we're here to promote my movie. You know what I'm here to promote. So why
Right,
you asked me one question, I answered it. Now you're asking me a second question about my friend. There doesn't have to be bad blood for her not to want to answer these questions because
right.
I believe that
This
they're
is my
still
time.
close, but this
hmm
is for me, my project.
Yeah.
Now, that movie, Mia Culpa, The reason why I don't like it is because I felt like it's very predictable. The movie is a Tyler Perry movie. Essentially, she's a lawyer. Her husband loses his job because he was like an anesthesiologist for a hospital, and he ends up getting addicted to his own medical supplies, and he loses his job. So now she's supporting him, his mom, who supposedly has cancer, and she gets this case of this guy who supposedly murdered his girlfriend, but it was she ends up sleeping with her client because her husband, it's made to look like he's cheating on her.
Mhm.
So she lashes out, and it turns out that her sibling, like her in-law, her mother-in-law, her brother-in-law, planned it. They planned everything. They planned making the guy look like he killed his girlfriend, because the sister-in-law, the brother-in-law's wife, had slept with that artist. He was a painter. So they framed him and then tried to see if she was loyal to the family, if she would end up sleeping with him. So they made things possible to where she would have to represent him, but still kind of have that animosity of like, I'm your brother in law, I'm the prosecutor. How are you going to be the defense attorney on the case that I'm working on, type thing? But what gets me is it made it very, for it being Black History Month, I guess, I was wanting to see more of a boss role for her versus a kind of like where the woman is being controlled, because there was a lot of things where like you can't do this, they're trying to control her career and stuff like that. That irritated me. Why are we having women in these roles where they can't be bosses and that come up on top without sleeping with somebody?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Especially
Yeah.
when you're creating, you have your own studio now. You have this acreage that has all these lots that where you can create films, but you're making it to the point where, I mean, granted, she does deserve to get the guy, right? The good looking guy and whatever. But she gets played and they try to unalive her. This is not like,
Yeah, I think Tyler Perry, I like his work and stuff, but I feel like most of his movies are really predictable and have kind of the same like storyline in a sense, you
mhm,
know? Like it's all about like it's all I think like all the movies I can think of are very much like cheating, being unfaithful, crazy stuff happening. You know what I mean?
mhm,
And so I can't even think of a Tyler Perry movie that I've watched that wasn't like that.
yeah, because I felt like it gave me the same feeling of an angry black woman, Diary of an Angry Black
Mhm.
Woman, where she was being controlled by her husband for so long, and it was like even her husband wasn't defending her when his mom was like, my husband supports you, you live off of, not my husband, my son supports you,
So,
you live off
yeah.
my son's money or whatever, and it's like he's being quiet, not saying nothing. You're allowing yourself to be degraded in front of his family. That to me was where I'm like, I don't want to see that anymore. I want to see
Yeah.
women in positions of power, not where they're being limited to what their power is. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
think
just,
it's hard too though because like we're in a place in our lives where we're both bosses and like are very adamant about like I don't need you. I want you, you know, but like in a sense we still kind of want to have that to a point. Like I want you to be able to like support me and take care of me if I need to or you know, but I think our generation is just very different than the past and it's like we need to make movies that are different, you know? Hmm.
who I think got it right, and I know it wasn't just their storyline. The show This Is Us, Randall and Beth as a couple, I think they did right by that couple, because even though Randall made some decisions in their relationship, so did Beth. They both
Mhm.
made decisions in their relationship. She was still able to chase her dreams, even though they would have disagreements or whatever. They still kind of made like a happy middle, um,
Mhm.
and were able to kind of like figure things out. So
Yeah.
I really don't. I I like stuff like that where they both end up being successful. I would rather see something like that, not
Yeah.
something where
I know, like, I don't know, maybe, and I could be totally wrong, like, maybe it's like they're trying to bring awareness to like a cultural aspect that I have no, like, well, neither one of us are black, right? But
right.
maybe that's something that they're trying to really, that Tyler Perry is trying to like emphasize a little bit, like, yo, this is really happening, and like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
trying to get people to really realize like this is reality for a lot of people, and a lot of people may be okay with that. Like, some people are like not really tripping, and the more the old I feel like the older I get, the less decisions I want to make. I'm like, that's all you decide. I don't want to have no part of it, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but what I'm just based on how we were raised, like, what I'm not going to deal with is like you telling me that like I'm not going to pursue my dream. I'm not going to do what I really want to do. Like, if it's like going out or something, like, oh, I'm going to go out with my friends, and they're like, no, but I really wanted to spend time with you. Like, okay, you know, okay. But like, if I'm sitting here talking about I'm going to get my master's degree, and you're like, no, you're not, you got me all the way messed up.
Yeah. You're not gonna stop me from trying to like up my career. That's not something that's gonna happen. That's not allowed here. Like if it
Hmm.
benefits me career wise and it can benefit us in life, then I don't see
Hmm.
how that's something that is your say, you know. I want your
Yeah.
support. I want you to tell me, okay, I
Right.
got you. Like you need help
Right.
studying? I got you. I'll quiz you. I'll do note cards with you, something, whatever. But I just found it really interesting and it did seem predictable, like you said. Like I feel like a lot of them are very much the same type of underline, and I would like
Yeah.
to see different. Um,
Yeah.
another thing
Hold.
that I'm not gonna watch. So another thing that I am not gonna watch is the Yolanda Lifetime special. So if those who don't know who Yolanda is, she is the one who unalived Selena. She went pew pew and is now having her whole family is having this special where they're supposedly showing evidence, right? But it's like handwritten cards that Yolanda had from what I've seen on TikTok. Um, and her basically what I'm getting at when what I've seen on TikTok, because I don't even really need to see the Lifetime special to kind of know how I feel about her, is she's saying she never stole money from the business, that the business never had any money, that it never made any revenue. Um, that's not why you're in jail. That's not why you're in prison. You're locked up because you unalive somebody. Like, let's be real about it. You're not there because of the embezzlement. You're there because of the fact that you unalived her and the fact that people witnessed Selena running from the room and you screamed the word bitch. Yeah, I do think you did it intently. That wasn't an accident.
Yeah. She's getting out of prison, right?
Yeah, her
Yeah.
parole is hearing is up. So, I mean, they could fight it and she could end up not coming out, but I don't want to
That would
watch it.
be I feel like that would be really hard not to be biased. You know what I mean? Like who doesn't know who Selena is? Who doesn't know that story? So it'd be
Mhm.
really hard to like, I don't know. How old was she? Do you know how old she'll be when she gets out?
Mm, That's a good question. Because I think it's next year, no? If
Yeah,
I'm not wrong.
I think so.
Yolanda.
Because I think they were in like their 20s, right? Late 20s. Well, she was. I think she was in her late 20s at least.
Selena was 23 when she passed. She was my mom's age at the time.
So she's only
Uh,
kind of. I mean,
She's 63, so she'll be like 64.
oh, so she's not that old, but like I've seen a lot of comments about it, and a lot of people are like, "You might want to just stay in jail. Like you're safe there." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Damn, harsh."
That's one girl on there. She's like, I watched the whole thing. I was like, I want to see if my opinion was gonna change. I watched the
Mm,
whole thing, and all I gotta say is, Yolanda, when you get out here, you gonna get these hands. Like, she goes, I'm sorry, my opinion didn't change. You did what you did. We know what you did.
yeah,
Do I
yeah.
think there's more factors? Absolutely. Do I hate the fact that the family is very much still profiting off of Selena? Yes, I still hate that. I don't
Her
agree with it.
family? What do you mean?
Yeah. The Quintanilla family, Selena's family.
Why do you feel like they shouldn't profit off of her?
Because I feel like you should let her rest. Like, I really don't think so. All these like they did a show on
Mm-hmm.
Netflix in memory of her, but they've done several things. The movie,
Yeah.
I understand, right? They did the movie. I feel like they can't make another movie like that. That movie was kind of just classic for me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I also think that when you have a child that passed, it's hard. Why do you want to keep reliving that? And they're doing more projects. So they already have the museum, right? They have the
Mm-hmm.
museum. They've done the cosmetics. They've done all these things. They're very much involved. AB Quintanilla has used her music in his music, but granted, he was a lot of like the production side of it before.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that. But even when Chris Perez, her husband, was gonna do a, I think it was like a limited series just about them and their relationship, they shut it down. Like her dad shut it down. He sent a cease and desist order that he was not allowed to use Selena's image. And it turns out some of the forms that he signed after Selena had passed, and Chris Perez talks about it, like
Uh-huh.
he just lost his wife, so he wasn't really
Yeah.
in the headspace.
I'm
He
not
was
worried
presented
about
with
what I'm signing.
yeah, he wasn't, and he was presented with papers from the dad, Selena's dad, and the
Mm,
lawyer. He signed it, and basically he signed saying that he does not own the rights to any of Selena's image as next of kin. It all belongs to her dad. So
yeah.
he has final say. So you can't do
Mm-hmm.
anything. He even got sued for the book that he wrote, which was like basically to Selena. You know, it's like a love story for her. He
Mm-hmm.
wanted people to know who she was outside of
Outside of her
her
family and
persona. And
yeah,
I just think it's kind of like, if you're gonna want your
greedy.
daughter to be remembered, you should allow all people who loved her
Yeah, I agree.
to
But
speak
they've
on it.
never liked him. Like it's always been an issue with him.
Hmm.
So I mean, I don't. That doesn't surprise me. But I definitely think like that's her. That what?
Yeah.
Like you would make hella money from that. Like why? You know what I mean? But that's that control. Like I couldn't stop her from being with you, but I can stop you from being with her in a sense now. You know?
Hmm. And
But
even like
that's
the
crazy.
Jenny Rivera stuff, right? Because that's a lawsuit right now that's going on. Is Jenny Rivera, who sang Banda,
Hmm.
her dad is still using her image and still using her name and still using her music in his company. Her kids are like, hey, that's supposed to be ours now that all the kids are adults. Now they're all over the
Hmm.
age of 18. And turns out they were misusing the mom's estate. So now they're going through a trial. It's going to trial. He refused to settle
Right.
out of court. And it's like, that's your daughter's kids though. You're not
Yeah.
even
That the
giving them their
industry
stuff.
is just industry is crazy. That's all I could say.
Yeah.
I could never. I like. I have. Ugh, I mean, not that I'm like an artist or anything, because I'm far from that. But I can like what? It just doesn't make
Mm-mm.
sense to me. It reiterates that I don't ever want to be a part of the industry at all.
But because you are the type of person that you always have questions, and sometimes you can be a little nosy, would you watch the Yolanda Lifetime show if you had to? Like if you had a choice
Yeah.
that between that and another show, would you watch it?
Mm, maybe, but I'm not really. I'm not. I don't know.
I don't think the outcome would make you think any different, though.
No, not at all. Like, no. I don't care what. I like. My thing is like, okay, so again, you're in jail for the reason you're in jail, not for stealing money, not for doing anything. I think she did. Didn't she get charges of embezzlement though?
No, they dropped those charges and they
Oh,
focused solely on the unaliving.
so at the end of the day, you still unalive somebody.
Hmm.
Like, but but I know a lot of people who have been in prison for unaliving people, and they're out and very much like they did their time. So it is what it is. But because she is who she is, it hurts a little more, like,
Yeah.
but we can't, I feel like it's not fair for people to punish somebody more because of who they, like who the crime was against. Like, we can't sit here, the justice system is the justice system for a reason, and there's consequences, right? That's why there's like a minimum and maximum, so
Hmm.
that you can't be like, oh, so you killed this person who everybody loves and everybody adores, and but then yet this person who's has nothing to do with the industry, or like some little people like us, are my life doesn't matter as much as hers. Like, nah. You know what I mean? So it's a little hard.
Yeah.
I think people have to, they don't have to, but I think people should just kind of like remember that. And I think a lot of the people in the comments who are like, she deserves to be in there, and just die in there. Like, okay, so do you guys know anybody or have any family members who have unalived somebody? And you're the first to say free so and so. Like, let's be realistic about it. Like, that you can't just, because of the person, like, you're basically saying that people's lives are more valuable.
Um, one thing I will want to watch, and I didn't initially want to watch it at first, is the Wendy Williams "Where's Wendy" Lifetime special. And the reason why is because I feel like at first I was like, the family's exploiting her. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to give them money off of someone's illness, Like that's how I felt like.
Yeah.
Because before her diagnosis, I felt like something more was there. There was something more wrong on
Hmm.
a mental health level. And turns out she has what they call, and if I'm saying this wrong and any medical professional hears me, I'm not a medical professional. Okay. I speak two languages and I barely speak English and, and Spanish right the first time. Okay. So, asphyxia and frontotemporal dementia. She was diagnosed formally with those two diagnoses. And apparently, it's the same one that Bruce Willis has and that he's been struggling with. I watched certain clips and I just felt bad for her. I felt bad for her because I did love the Wendy Williams show. I'm not gonna lie. I liked the tea that she had. I liked the drama, the how you doing, all that kind of stuff. I loved it. I lived for it. Especially Suzanne, her like stage manager. I really
Hmm.
loved her when they would do like little gimmicks. Um, but what changed my mind was on The View, her niece was actually on there and talked about how the family hasn't received any money for the lifetime special, and in fact that they're trying to fight for the conservatorship of Wendy to be able to manage her finances because they feel like she's being exploited by these people who are on her payroll. And I get that, but I just feel like it's not something. I feel like those are things that should be dealt with privately when it's a mental illness or it's some sort of illness. Because look at like Bruce Willis, we don't see him having documentaries and stuff like that. The family's keeping it pretty private. They only release information when something's got worse. Like he no longer speaks and stuff like that. I don't know. I felt conflicted. I don't know if you would watch it knowing that it has to do with someone like declining.
Yeah. Um, I haven't really been like I'm not a huge Wendy Williams fan. But I think it's hard because it's like, okay, so if everything like I think it's important to remember that people should set things up before things happen. And people are going to take advantage. That's going to happen. But like, what is the relationship with her family? Because there's a lot of toxic family, like we were just talking about Selena's family. They just want to get the money in. Like, that shouldn't be the priority. The priority is like, let's get her. Is there any way to cure this? Is there any way to help this? Right? Because I mean, dementia, there's no cure, but you know what I mean? Like, you guys are worried about fighting somebody for a conservatorship. Like, why do you feel like she's being taken advantage of? Because she's still like able to make decisions and talk, and it's not that bad from what I understand yet at this point. So it's like, why is that what you're thinking of right now?
Hmm. And it looked bad to me when I saw, mind you, I don't think it's like the best clip in the world, and the way that people kind of worded it on socials was, I felt like a little over dramatic, right? They're like a heartfelt exchange between Black China and Wendy Williams. I really
Oh
don't
yeah.
feel like it was like that dramatic. I felt like it was just an exchange of conversation. And when she said, "My name is Wendy Williams," out of nowhere, she's like, "Uh-huh," she goes, "but it's really Wendy Hunter." And like I'm having a conversation with you, like letting you know, and you're saying something that's completely like has nothing to do with what I just told you, but it goes with her illness, right? So she's not at that point able to give you a cognitive response, like she can't. And I could see where Black China got choked up because you could see where she like was kind of like getting
Hmm.
tense here, and she just gives her a hug as like a, I'm gonna I'm gonna hug you to kind of just avoid getting emotional.
Hmm.
And that's where I was like, okay, I can understand that. I can understand where you're like, this person obviously had no idea what I just said. They don't understand anything that I just said, so I'm just gonna keep it at what it is. You know what I mean? And it's kind of sad in that sense, where you have a friend. I don't know how close they were before,
Hmm.
um, but they're going through that. Like I would be hurt if you couldn't even remember who I am when it comes to like our friendship. I'd be pissed off, probably at the
Yeah.
world. But that's
Yeah.
because you're literally like family to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those
Sorry,
are things
he
that
hears another dog.
so it's just things like that to me that I feel like are awkward. I would watch it and I am gonna try to see if I can catch it, but I'm more concerned about her family's like her direct family, her son, how he's
Yeah.
affected by this. Not necessarily like her sister or her niece, maybe her dad, you know? But her son is who I feel like I worry for her son because that it's got to be hard seeing your mom go through that. Um Now, talking about things that we will or will not watch. I know that you tuned in to certain episodes of Love is Blind season 6, and it kind of goes to what we talked about with Flavor Flav and Miley Cyrus. Have you ever been confused for a celebrity?
Not confused, but like I've been told that, well, obviously not really anymore, but like when I was younger, um Lindsay Lohan when she was younger, just because she had red hair and freckles. But that's it.
Okay. Uh, hmm, maybe like your younger pictures, but I think it's interesting how on Love is Blind, everybody made a big deal about it on TikTok, and people were saying that she was like the Timu version of Megan Fox. Chelsea tells her man that she has been told at her place of employment that she looks like Megan Fox. And when they saw each other, I think he kind of like was like, she don't look like Megan Fox. I still feel like this season, I don't know if it's just me. I feel like it has really turned into a show for opportunists. This is not what we saw in season one. Season one, we really saw people going for the real deal, right? They were going for love, they were going for the purpose of the experiment. On this one, we are going and we are seeing people who are dressing way too like dolled up, way too dolled up to begin with. And they're I don't, it gives me very much like I want to be famous, so I'm going to be on this show so that way I can become a social media influencer and then never have to worry about putting my name on a resume for the rest of my life. That's what it's giving me this season. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I know. I kind of get that vibe with Clay. Like he's very much there for the because he started off the conversation like I'm not here just to get. Okay, bro, calm down, calm down.
I mean, I
Um,
do think he's cute.
yeah, he is. Um, but there's a lot of cute people in this world that aren't on TV.
That's true.
So like I don't know. It just kind of yeah. I definitely think that it's became more of a like oh I could just do this real quick, quick come up. But
Mhm.
like you guys are playing with people's emotions and I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. And then I felt like what's her name? AD. I felt like AD is very flirtatious, and I don't think that necessarily with everybody she does it intently. I think that that's a lot of her personality is to have that soft talking voice and to be flirtatious. But so when they were in Mexico, right? And the what's his name? Jimmy, he's like, man, she's like her body's like snatched, and he was like complimenting her. Okay, bro, like you're my fiance. You complimented her once. Stop doing it. Like no le des vuelta. Like he go ahead and twirled her around. Then he lied about twirling her around. And it's like you did. We seen you. Like no, we saw you do it. And everybody's kind of like looking at her, and I'm thinking the rest of the girls are not ugly. Yes, she has a beautiful body. She does. You could tell that she's very fit. But don't be disrespectful for like have some control. Self-control is a lot. It goes a long way. But I thought that was interesting that he just kept going, and then he had a long conversation with her. And I'm like, you don't even have long conversations with the girl that you propose to.
Right. Right. I think that show is so freaking hard because it's like I get it. Like physical attraction is important, but I will say, you can definitely not really be like, oh my God, head over heels, like that's my person. Like they're beautiful or they're handsome, every little part of them physically. But then like you really get to know somebody and like, it's a whole different game. You're like, damn, like the hell.
Mhm.
So
Like I
I
didn't
don't
think
know.
that
It takes a minute
Chelsea
though.
was gonna pick Jimmy though.
I didn't either. I
I
didn't
thought she was
either.
gonna go with the guy for the mullet.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Me too. I have only seen up until they're in Mexico, but we'll see.
What about Brittany and Kenneth?
Which one?
Brittany and Kenneth, they're the the biracial couple?
Oh, I like them together. I really do. I was kind of like when AD was having the conversation with him because he's never dated a white woman before, and she's like, "Do you think she's going to be able to take care of black kids?" And I'm like, "Dang." So then I really was kind of like not bothered, but like, would you say that if it was like she was Hispanic? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I think people think that have this persona that like people who are dating biracial, it's a biracial relationship. I think people think that we like don't think about it.
Mhm.
And it's kind of frustrating because it's like, are you able to, just because you're black, are you able to, you know what I mean? Like, you're not asking him if he knows how to take care of a little girl's hair. He's never been a little girl.
Mhm.
So it's kind of the same. I'm not saying it's the same at all because it's not. But it's like, I feel like that conversation is so blown up all the time and it doesn't need to be. Like, because you're not going to say, if it was an Asian girl, would you say that?
Right.
Probably not.
See, I knew that
Like,
that was going to trigger you because it triggered me.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
reason why it triggered me, mind you, like my mom's Mexican, my dad's Puerto Rican. I'm Latina and I was raised around Latino culture. But I I felt like that wasn't her place. I felt like that wasn't her place. Now I could see where his family or his friends, if they
Mm-hmm,
had brought it up, I could see that and I
mm-hmm,
can understand that 100%. But I don't think that that was her place to ask, and in the way that she asked. I don't think that that came
yeah.
out of a place of like genuine concern. I think because she was kind of flirtatious in the way that she was talking with him before that, and then she went to that question.
Mm-hmm,
Look, anyone who dates outside of their race, they do have that thought process. How can I raise a child who is biracial or multicultural? Because I mean there's going to be a difference. If your kid
mm-hmm,
comes out with darker skin and with natural hair texture that's different from theirs, I need to be able to teach my child to embrace who they are, right?
mm-hmm,
To be able to know that in the eyes of society, you are not the same. Based off
mm-hmm,
of how we are today, let's be real. The way that you are seen by society, you are not the same as
mm-hmm,
everybody else. You are going to have certain things that you're going to have to do different. But I'm going
mm-hmm.
to love you just the same because you're my kid. Period.
Right, right.
And I'm not going to see you any different than I see your cousins. I'm not going to see you any
Mm-hmm,
different than another sibling who's born lighter. Look at my
mm-hmm,
so Clara is the best example, right? Cuz she's brown, and then we have Eddie who's also brown, and then we have June who's also brown, and then we have one of them who is vanilla like me. He's lighter. They
mm-hmm.
are related. They have the same mom, same pops. Well, except for Clara. But all of them have pretty much DNA that matches. They came out different shapes and sizes, different shades.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still siblings. My tia still loves them the
Yeah,
same. They're raised
yeah.
the same.
I think it's like I feel like, and don't get me wrong, I think that question sometimes does need to be asked, right? Like that's not an unrealistic question, don't get me wrong. But it's like, would you tell a dad, "Oh, you're able to raise a girl? Are you able to raise a little girl? Like you don't know what it's like." You know what I mean? So
Mm,
I'm just getting very annoyed because it just makes it feel even more segregated. Like that, oh, it's there's something wrong, or you know, like I don't know. That's just my feeling towards it because this is a conversation obviously I have to have all the time.
mm.
And it was kind of frustrating because I'm like, how do you know? Like, I don't think anybody can really say that they were fully aware, fully like ready, able, like comfortable, were 100% to have a kid in general, period.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, that's a conversation that should be had. They talked about it like, oh, I've never been with a black man, I've never been with a white woman, whatever, whatever. But again, it's always, 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 always a conversation with a black and a white couple.
Mhm. Yeah, we
I'm
don't
pretty
see it
sure.
really with like we didn't see it with Milton and with God, Lydia. Lydia was Puerto Rican
Mhm.
and
Because it's just
Milton's black.
assumed that only white people don't know how to deal with it. And I'm like, okay. So it's just overplayed. I'm like, that comment was unnecessary. That question has nothing to do with you. He is aware that he's never been with a white woman. They had that conversation if the family was going to be okay. Like
Mhm.
that is an important conversation to have. And I think that would have been kind of a better question. Versus like, oh, do you think she can raise a black child? You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
because it's very important if your family isn't going to be accepting of it. That's something to really talk about in the beginning, you
Mhm.
know? Like
Yeah.
if you haven't been with somebody of that culture, like, I mean,
And I
okay.
think
But
it's
again, if
different when it comes from your family. When it comes from like the family and friends, I think it's different. When it comes from somebody who has no relation to you whatsoever, they just
and doesn't even
barely
really
met you
know
5 minutes
you,
ago, like,
yeah.
no, I don't think that that was an appropriate question for you to ask because you don't know him. You don't know what they discussed in the pods.
And
Like,
it's
you
yeah,
don't.
and it's just common sense. Like you don't like do you think people get in biracial relationships not thinking about that? Like but again, like I know my Filipino cousins have very long straight bone straight hair. So do you know how to
Mhm.
do a white girl's hair? Do you know how to do a Mexican girl's hair? Because
Mhm.
everybody's hair texture is different. I think that's what it kind of goes back to a lot of times
Mhm.
is like okay, so just we had talked about it in a training at work, and I'm like, they're talking about, oh, well, African American people have to put lotion on. I'm like, you don't think white people have to put lotion on? You don't
Mhm.
think white girls have to do their hair? You don't think that we have products that don't go good with our hair either? Like, there's a lot of similarities. I'm not saying we're the same or we're anything like that. Like, yes, you definitely need to like learn about your child who's going to be mixed, but it's going to be different than doing somebody who's just fully African American
Mhm.
to somebody who's mixed with black and white to somebody who's mixed with black and Mexican. You know what I mean? Like my mom's hair
Mhm.
is hella curly, like ridiculously curly. She had to
Yeah.
learn what products work for her hair. And it's that trial and error. It is different, but it at the end of the day, you're learning your child.
Mhm.
And if you're open to being in a relationship with somebody of a different culture, that's a more important conversation. Like, are you going to be able to open those doors to something new? Because I think of like more cultures that are like restrictive, like um, Muslim culture. That's
Mhm.
a drastic change for somebody who's Christian or Catholic. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
very different. And so it's like these conversations always seem to come from black and white couples. And it's like, if we're going to ask this question about everybody because everybody's family is different and their
Mhm.
culture and their family is different. So ask everybody.
Yeah, well, look at like my mom's niece in LA. She married someone who's Armenian, and that's very different from like Mexican, very different.
Mm-hmm.
And they had pretty much it was like a an Armenian style wedding. They didn't really have a Mexican style wedding. The most Mexican they had was like tequila that they had custom made for their wedding. So no, it's not the same. And I don't think that people ask, like, oh, how are you going to raise your kids? Like, I don't think they asked her
Right.
that. But I think that it's a question that maybe should be asked because how are you going to raise your kids? Are you going to raise them to solely embody Armenian culture or are you going to combine
Mm-hmm.
both? Like, how are you going to do that? But I don't know. And I don't think my family like kind of like pries into that. I think they're just like, oh, that's who you picked. Like, that's it. Like, that
Yeah.
we don't really force ourselves to pry into that. Even with my
Mhm.
niece, and you've known my niece, she's dating someone who is black, and I told her, you know, there are people out there who are gonna look at you guys different. They
Mhm.
are. It doesn't matter if you're Mexican. Doesn't matter if you have brown skin. It doesn't. They're gonna look at you guys different because of the fact that you guys are not the same ethnicity. That's it.
Mhm.
That's the only thing that they're gonna look at. And she was like, I just don't understand it. I'm like, it doesn't have to make sense to you. It doesn't make sense to me. And I mean, I'm 30 something years old. So just be aware that those comments will hurt and they can hurt.
Mhm.
And I don't want you to have to do it alone. So if you ever feel like you need to like reach out to me and I can talk to you about it. You can let it out and it's fine. Or you could talk
Mhm.
to Kai about it because Kai's dealt with it too. And she was like, she goes, thanks, I appreciate it. She goes, but I haven't experienced that yet. So I'm like, okay, well, we're here for you if you ever need us. But
Yeah.
it it's definitely something I was concerned for. So I told her,
Yeah.
like it's something that may happen. But I didn't tell her like, can you handle dating a black guy? No. I just said,
Right.
just know that the world may look at you different.
And to be fair, can he handle her? Because her family look cray cray.
First of all, we're nice. My family is not crazy. We are just very
Uh-huh.
opinionated. Um,
Okay.
we're very
Nah, no,
opinionated
but
and
it's
all up in
it's
each other's business.
definitely it's definitely like I don't know. I just feel like people need to love each other more. Like, and that's
Hmm.
it, period. Like, who cares? You're not in their home. Like, who cares? I don't think I want to say I don't think her question was like out of malintent, but I'm an AD fan. I like AD. Um,
I knew
so
you
I
would
want
too.
to say I don't feel like it was like malicious or anything like that. At the end of the day, I think there was probably a lot more to that conversation that they're not airing. And so
Mm,
that's, I'm kind of like, okay, but I'm still like, I hate that question. Like that question just irritates me because it's
yeah.
like I don't know.
You know what
I don't know.
irritates me is someone hating on a Hawaiian shirt. So
She said dress
Laura
like a
kept,
grown up.
yeah, she's like, I can't, and I'm like, you can't with what? Like almost every little thing about him irritates you. It's starting to, so her name is Laura and she's dating Jeremy. Um, I I'm like, he said he has OCD, that he's clean, that he's neat. Okay, that's the only thing that I care about because I know that I can be like a mess. I know I can. I can leave like a dish in a sink and then be like, I'll clean it up tomorrow. Like I'm very much that
Hmm.
person. But him having a Hawaiian shirt, like liking Hawaiian shirts, you know what that means? That just means that he wants to go to the beach. I'm down. Like that for me is exactly what that means. So for me, it was irritating that she kept pushing about these Hawaiian shirts. And I'm like, that's the bare minimum of your problem.
For real.
The fact that he was like, look, I don't own a house right now. I rent a house, but I want to purchase a house with my future wife. I'm like,
Respect.
okay, like, I can deal
Respect.
with that. We're good.
Yeah.
And then her to continue to go on about like, I can't. That bothers me. That can't. What doesn't bother you, Laura? Like, give him a list.
Right. Write this out for me. Yeah, I was dying when she said, "Can you dress like a grown up tomorrow?" You know?
I'm like, man,
But to be fair,
no.
I think I'm the type like you can't be wearing the same thing every day, bro. Like I need you to switch up the game a little bit. Like a Hawaiian shirt is cool, but every day
Well, it's a
switch it up.
different type
That's
of
just mine.
Hawaiian shirt, different patterns.
No. No, we need a whole style change. Like today I'm in sweats and a t-shirt, tomorrow I'm in jeans and a hoodie. Like, you got to switch it up. But I feel like that with
She
guys,
is
like
this
I feel
way.
like guys are just basic. Like not all guys, sorry. But like, you know what I mean? Like I'm so over the whole just jeans and a white tee. Like put some swag on. Get it
She
together.
is this way, you guys, because she complains
And
about my
don't
purse is never changing and stuff like that. Like she's this way.
listen. And don't be having some just busted shoes on all the time. Like, please have some nice, like, some shoes, just some shoes. Switch up your style. Like, cool, you could wear joggers one day, jeans, and I don't know, just have some change up.
No Crocs, please. That's where I draw the line. I'm like, nah. I'm sorry. I can't. If you're
I
a cook,
don't.
if you're a chef, or whatever, and I know that a lot of like certain careers, Crocs are better for those jobs. Sure, but once you get in the house, adios. No Crocs.
I'm
No.
more like I'm okay if you wearing Crocs in the house as like slippers, kind of, but like no, you're not. No, I'm not going outside with you in Crocs. I
You know
can't.
who I thought was interesting. Did you see Amy and Johnny, right? So the girl who is her parents were from Spain, but they moved to Puerto Rico and she was born in Puerto
Hmm.
Rico. I think that they're gonna say I do ultimately, but I think that there's a factor that could cause them not to, which is birth control. Did you see that
Oh,
conversation?
yep, yep. Um, I think it's. I know, I know, I know. So that's a touchy like subject. Like, I get that you don't want to have a kid. Cool, great.
Yeah.
But that's like a conversation. And I think I forgot who it was. I Somebody was talking to him about like birth control and like how it affects women's bodies and stuff, and how it's important for men to really understand that. Like, there's condoms. Like, it, birth control can really mess up your body and your body chemistry, and take a long time to get pregnant after being on birth control. So there's a lot of factors. I don't necessarily, like, if you're worried about it, for me, that would be a problem. Like, if you're that worried about it where you're not willing to have sex until we're ready to have a kid, no, I'm not here for it, honestly. Um, if you're waiting till we're married, okay, I can respect it. But that's mm-mm, mm-mm,
But even like
no.
so you're not there yet, but she'll mention a vasectomy later. So just have that in mind. She'll mention
Yeah.
that later. But that is another option for men. You can have a vasectomy if you are that concerned. Some
But
vasectomies
he's saying he
are
doesn't.
reversible, some are not.
Yeah,
That's
but
the
I don't think that's appropriate if you want to have kids. Like, it's not. That's not just. It's not what that's for. You know what I mean?
right.
Um, because it's risky, and so I think that he has to really think, like, and understand, like, okay, if you really really don't want kids that fucking much. Oh, sorry, that
You're
much.
good.
Um, then be protective. Use a condom. Use spermicide or whatever that stuff is called. Don't have sex when she's ovulating. Like,
Mhm.
it's
There's
gonna
ways
be
to track
very
it.
kind of, yeah. There's like it might be a little more complicated and mathematical, and I think, like, I can respect the fact that he really doesn't want to do anything until he's ready because he knows there's consequences. But if you don't knock it off,
And you know what? Like, there was so many people that I saw online bashing her for not being on birth control. And let me just say this: we talked about the cultural
oh,
aspect of the question with Kenny and Brittany about whether or not she would be able to raise black children. And again, we think that that's a question that's absolutely necessary in that type of relationship. But also, for those who don't know, in Puerto Rico, when it was taken over by the United States of America, they tested birth control contraceptives on Puerto Rican women prior to any FDA approval, which left a lot of women sterile. And that happened on the Puerto Rican island. The Puerto Rican island is actually one of the top pharmaceutical um, distributors of our actual country, our nation as a whole. And they not only tested that on women without their consent, they were selling them as vitamins and they were not vitamins. Um,
mm-hmm.
they also gave women without their consent after having given birth to a child a basically like a whole um hysterectomy essentially, and they would
Damn.
make it to where they weren't able to reproduce ever again. So I can see where the fear of birth control is a little bit more extreme maybe for her because of the fact that there was so many things done without the consent of the people on the island. um so I can understand that, but I think that people need to be mindful that every culture is different and
I don't
there
even.
are things that can
I would.
affect them.
I wouldn't even go culturally though, because it's like, so we're fighting for women's rights. It's our right not to, like, it's not required to be on birth control. If she's not sleeping around, even if she was sleeping around, who freaking cares? That's not your body. That is not. Why do you feel the need that your opinion is even needed? Like, you're
Mhm.
not her man. That's a conversation her and her man can talk about and be like, okay, so babe, like, I'm not on birth control. I know you don't want kids, so we have one or two options. But like, birth control is it. I think now it's, people look at you weird if you're not on birth control, and it's like, so we have all these women our age who are struggling to have kids because we've been put on birth control since we were 14, 13. And so people have to understand that, like, there's nothing wrong with, I'm not on birth control. I'm not planning on getting back on birth control, and that's my choice. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, like, at all.
Yeah.
So the fact that people are like trying to bash her for it, like, you don't know what the birth control does to her. What if the birth control, I've been on birth control where it made me want to literally jump off my balcony. Like,
Yeah.
so why would I continue to put something like that makes me feel like that in my body?
Yeah. And you bring up a good point. We don't know what it does to her body. Well, now she released a statement. It was yesterday. Um, that she actually has a medical condition that unfortunately she can't take birth control because
Mm-hmm,
of the fact that it affects her differently. But I think
mm-hmm,
that for me, it was like a lot of people were coming at her in a certain way. And it's like, you have to look, there are certain cultures that they think of it differently. They do because of X, Y, and Z. And there could be historical facts that could factor into their mindset. But also again medically there could be something medically wrong with her body or something medically that she has and she can't have it because it does a certain thing. I can't take birth control. I can't because I have a medical issue. I can't. There would be certain things that I would have to look into and that would have to be done for me to be even having that as a possibility. Now I'm not on it because I'm not with anybody right now. So I'm single. Um, I know that you're not on it, but again, that's your choice, right? We have that ability to choose. And I do want to talk about women's rights and about what's going on with women's bodies and the even expanding of families later, but I want to do that with men on the show to see where their thoughts are. So I want to see if I can get some male guests to come on. That would be a conversation to have. So, but I think that if it's not you, it's not your opinion.
right.
Like
I think it would
it's
be
not your
different
decision.
too if she was just like out here and she had like heck of kids and could raise them. All right, your opinion might be a little bit okay, but like, she doesn't have any kids. Like, what? Like, you can have sex and not be on birth control and not have kids. It's possible.
Mhm.
Trust me. Like,
Yeah.
it's, so I think people just need to be. I think it's a conversation. You should definitely have that conversation with your partner before you have sex with them. But
Would it be a deal breaker if he was like, I want you to get on, let's say it was you, right? And you have a partner, a significant other, and he's telling you, I want you to be on birth control because I don't want to wear just a condom. Like, I feel better if we were both using contraceptive
I
and
think
I'm
I could
not going to
respect it.
sleep with you.
I think I could respect it. But it's going to be a conversation as to like my choices as to like why I don't want to be on birth control anymore. Um, like I said, I've been on birth control since I was like 14. I mean, it's been a minute now since I haven't, but
Hmm.
I I'm also in a position where like if I had a kid, that's not a problem for me with or without somebody. And so going into that, I know that and I have that conversation before we even do anything because it's not fair either for me to just be like, nope, not I'm not going on birth control and then you have to be here if I get pregnant. Like, you know what I mean? It's just a
Yeah.
conversation, but I mean, if it depends on my like situation, if it's a situationship and I'm like, "Ugh, I don't know if this is gonna be long term, then like this is what I'm doing. That you're either here for it or you're not. But like if I'm in a committed relationship and we're talking about marriage and kids and stuff like that, and it's just not right now, I might be willing to go back on birth control. But I don't think men really understand the impact that birth control has like on having kids in the future.
Hmm. Right. I think that's an interesting conversation to have, and I do want to have other people like men on the show so
Yeah.
that way we could discuss it in like a space where it's not just us women talking about how like how we feel about it because we know how we feel about it. We know how we
Mhm.
feel about it when it comes to our bodies or what we want for ourselves. But it would be nice to see where a man's headspace is in reference to that. Granted, women are still going to do what they want to do when it comes to their body. It's their body, their choice. But I do think that it would be interesting to hear their opinion. And I think that every opinion is welcome. It may not always be agreed with, but it's welcome. Um, but definitely watch the rest of it when you can, because right now they're at the point, so they've already, I've watched, I'm caught up, so I'm almost to where they're going to say the I do's, and you're going to be disappointed. I already know you are. Um, but they're they cut down, so they did the pods 4 episodes this season. They did it like they did 3 in the previous one. um they cut the meeting of the families really short, so it doesn't really feel like, that's what I'm saying, it feels more like they're doing stuff for people to have opportunities for fame versus actual opportunities for love, because they cut the families portion short. The meeting, like the apartments and stuff like that, they cut that kind of short. So you'll definitely be able to have more thoughts. And then I want, because Jess, our future guest, has actually watched it too and she's caught up. So I told her for Let's Have Lots of Leave that we're gonna have like a deep dive once it's like all done, to kind of be able to have an overall consensus, and we'll have you on that one as well. um just because I know you're gonna be disappointed in the next couple episodes. um anyways, anyway, that's the hot topics for this week. Please tune in into our last episode of the lawsuit of Love is Blind that happened to do with the season 5 contestants. um Bless you. And there you go. Bless you. Tune into that episode because I mean we have opinions. We like to have opinions on pretty much anything and everything. This one was just kind of a quick, easy episode. Nothing that you guys have to have super long, deep conversations of. Just for fun, shits and giggles. But
Except the
do you have
birth
anything that you
control.
want to
Have those
add?
conversations. Just have those conversations about birth control.
Yeah, I think having those
Important.
conversations is important. I think having that with
Mhm.
your significant other is important. Again, if it's a situationship, you're gonna do what's best for you, right? That's not something that you have to focus on. But definitely when it's a relationship that you're with, I think it's important to have those conversations. How are you going to raise children? Not only how are you going to raise children, how are you going to plan your family? Are you going to use contraception? Are you going to buy a house? Things like that are important. Finances, all of those things are important. And I think that they need to be done in an open space with no judgment.
Mhm.
And leave Hawaiian shirts alone, okay? Hawaiian shirts are here for the
Just not
party. They're
every
here for the beach.
day. Just not
Mira,
every day.
if he wants to go to the beach and he wants that mindset, I don't care if he wears those Hawaiian shirts every day. The only thing that I care about is please do not, and I'm going to say this respectfully because I've seen a lot of people do it. When you're balding and you have that little patch of hair right here and just here, just shave it at that point. Just shave it. If you just have that little patch right here and then you have all this but nothing else, just shave it. And the mullet needs to retire. Like, we stop it. That mullet
For
had to
some,
go.
look, my cousin, my nephew, they've all had mullets, and I'm not here for it. But whatever. That's why I
No.
don't. I've never seen a black guy with a mullet, so I'm good over here.
Watch you end up being like with somebody in the and they end up getting a mullet. You're gonna be like, this is not what I signed up for.
For
This is
not,
not
not,
what we signed up for.
not at all. Nope.
Anyway, thanks for tuning
Alrighty.
in, you guys. This is Maya Ladies Siete, and we also have Kai saying peace out. Thanks for tuning in, mi gente. Remember to tell your friends to